This movie, Black Crab, was just released a day ago and has already gained millions of likes from viewers for its realistic portrayal of a post-apocalyptic world, featuring many actors who are actual special forces soldiers. It was supposed to be a weekend rest day, but crowds of desperate civilians are gathering outside the fence. The soldiers see this scene but choose to ignore it, completely unfazed. The soldiers open the vehicle and find a woman in a red dress who has been stranded. Her identity is very special, so they take her and transfer her to another location. But when the vehicle reaches a bridge 10 kilometers away, the soldiers suddenly stop and leave Caroline there alone. As she stands there in confusion, a group of starving refugees appears around her, intending to eat her as food. But despite her fragile appearance, Caroline proves to be a tough character. Caroline quickly gets back in the vehicle and speeds away. Thinking she's finally safe after driving a distance, she realizes the true danger as soldiers point guns at her head. After confirming her identity, they bring Caroline into a meeting room. It turns out the general assigned her to a top-secret mission. As the sun gradually disappears and the cold intensifies, they must deliver a mysterious weapon to a base hundreds of kilometers away before everyone freezes to death. Their mission is to reach the base before all humanity turns to ice. But the journey is filled with extreme danger. The team suits up and begins sliding across the ice, each carrying the burden of changing the world. Suddenly, the captain raises his hand, signaling the team to stop, as they've reached enemy territory. Just then, the ice cracks, and the captain falls through. Everyone lies flat on the ice to prevent further breakage. Caroline removes her gear and dives in after him, but finds the captain lifeless. She retrieves a knife from him, using all her strength to cut open the straps on his backpack, then swims toward the exit. When her teammates pull her back up, she's already frozen and unconscious. The noise from earlier might have given away their position. They arrive at a villa, their first priority to start a fire and warm Caroline before she freezes to death. Tom smashes a wooden chair to make a fire for Caroline. Her toes are purple from the cold, but luckily, help came just in time. After setting up a guard post, the others begin to rest. But Caroline is suddenly woken by strange sounds and finds Sam using a radio transmitter outside the door. At that moment, a helicopter flies toward them. Caroline quickly wakes everyone to extinguish the fire and pack up to leave the villa. Just as they leave, the helicopter launches a missile, destroying the villa. After the helicopter leaves, Caroline points her gun at Sam, realizing there's a traitor among them. Sam tries to grab the gun but is subdued by a bearded teammate, nearly losing his life. A teammate covers his mouth, and everyone lies down, ready as the enemy search squad approaches. Fortunately, it's a false alarm, and the enemy leaves soon after. They confiscate Sam's weapon and make him continue the mission with the team. Everyone regears and moves forward, and after 8 hours of sliding, they reach midnight. Exhausted, someone trips and falls on the ice, his face filled with terror as he gets up. They turn on their flashlights, only to see frozen bodies scattered across the ice, adults, children, of all ages, in a horrifying scene. The frozen lake at -100 degrees is littered with countless bodies, stretching as far as the eye can see. It's hard to imagine the horrors they faced before death. The commander orders everyone to turn off their flashlights to avoid detection. They obey, but a patrol helicopter soon flies over, launching a relentless spray of gunfire at them. Oddly, the helicopter only targets Caroline, firing continuously at her. Driven by her will to survive, she dodges left and right, expertly avoiding the bullets as she skates across the ice. She spots a cover in the distance and slides into it just in time. The helicopter circles above briefly before leaving without further attack. Her teammates catch up soon after. After skating for a while, they reach a small island, where tracks in the snow suggest someone lives there. They burst into a cabin and discover 2 elderly people living there, who warmly offer them a brief rest. But as Caroline bends down to pick something up, she notices a machine gun under the table, realizing the old man isn't who he seems. Caroline subtly shakes her head to signal him to stay calm, but he grabs the gun, revealing his true intentions. The team, trained special forces, reacts instantly, turning the tables on the elderly couple. Unfortunately, Sam is hit and dies from his injuries. They gather supplies and quickly prepare to continue their journey. However, Tom, hiding his injuries from the earlier fight, is struggling to keep up. The old man's gunshot had struck him in the chest. They spot an abandoned cruise ship and carefully enter, finding temporary safety, but Tom's injuries are too severe for him to go on. The team argues over whether to leave him behind. Meanwhile, David, the sniper, takes the chance to open a canister, curious about the mission's true cargo. As he opens it, everyone is shocked. Inside is a biological weapon, a virus sample capable of creating bioweapons that could spell doom for countless humans. Tom carefully hands the canister back to David. To ensure safety, Caroline goes out on the deck to patrol and spots enemy vehicles approaching, then hears a sudden gunshot. It's Tom, who has taken his own life. The shot will draw the enemy to them, so they need to leave quickly. Caroline suits up and scouts ahead, but soon notices that the ice on the lake is thinning. She cautiously continues forward, but the ice begins to crack widely under her weight. Caroline lies flat on the ice, carefully pushing her machine gun aside and taking off her heavy backpack to lighten her load and avoid falling into the freezing lake. Thankfully, her teammates arrive just in time. One of them throws a rope, which Caroline grabs, allowing them to pull her back to safety by sliding across the ice. They then tie themselves together with the rope for safety. If one of them falls through, they can lie flat on the ice while the others use the rope to pull them back. Just as David is rescued, a flare lights up the sky, followed immediately by a fierce machine gun barrage from the enemy. They are pinned down by gunfire, unable to advance. At this moment, David takes out his sniper rifle. Despite bullets flying in front of him, he remains unfazed and takes down the enemy with a single, precise shot. Caroline stands up and charges forward, only to find 3 enemies ahead. However, 2 of them have already frozen to death, and David takes care of the last one. The 3 of them start a fire to warm up. The next morning, Caroline discovers that David has stolen the bioweapon and left. She soon realizes they're surrounded by a large enemy force. Caroline throws a grenade at the approaching enemies, while David joins the fight, both coordinating flawlessly. Like a reaper on the battlefield, Caroline uses her rifle to take down enemy after enemy. Her and David's teamwork is so effective that no one can get close to them. However, with more reinforcements arriving, they are soon overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Out of bullets, Caroline reaches for a grenade but is shot in the chest. David eliminates the attacker and shields her from the falling grenade with his own body. Now, only Caroline remains. In rage, she picks up her rifle and takes down the remaining enemies, then grabs David's sniper rifle and continues her mission despite her injuries. After sliding across the ice for a while, she spots David in the distance. Caroline raises her sniper rifle, signaling him to stop, but David aims his gun back at her, forcing her to take aim again. Caroline limps over to David and demands that he hand over the bioweapon. Ignoring David's pleas,
Se esparcen con el flujo de refugiados. Morirán millones de personas.
She seizes the bioweapon and continues her journey. Suddenly, a team of soldiers on horseback appears. Caroline, weakened by her injuries, loses consciousness, and when she wakes up, she's back at the base. Her superior holds a commendation ceremony and promotes her to lieutenant, but Caroline is unmoved. It turns out her daughter had died long ago, and her superior had lied to motivate her to complete the mission. Caroline furiously confronts him. At that moment, David finally understands why Caroline was so determined to see the mission through. In despair, Caroline binds herself to the bioweapon, and the soldiers around her hesitate, too scared to intervene. Determined to prevent millions of innocents from being infected, Caroline steps closer to the cliff's edge. Her superior tries to persuade her not to do anything rash. Ignoring his pleas, Caroline jumps without hesitation.